everyone, you're here with Vigilant Christian Mario, and you're here for another edition of Illuminati Media Exposed. In today's video, I have a very special show. I'm very excited to be introducing you guys to researcher and fellow brother in Christ, Fritz Springmeier. So Fritz, if you want to say hello.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Mario.
Really, it's an honor to have Fritz. If you guys aren't familiar, the reason that I'm having Fritz on here is because I've talked about things on this channel like the Illuminati mind control. And when I began to research these things for myself, I came across his work. So what we're going to be talking in today's video about is Fritz Springmeier's book, How the Illuminati Create an Undetectable Total Mind Control Slave. So if you've stumbled across a lot of my videos that talk about what's going on in the entertainment industry, you've even heard Roseanne Barr say that MK Ultra is a massive problem in Hollywood. But what is MK Ultra? What is this program and what's it all about? That's what we're going to be answering today. We're going to go in depth into the Illuminati and how they create this total undetectable mind control slave. So, Fritz, I read the book. It's fantastic. There's a link in the description section, guys, if you want to go ahead and get a copy. I absolutely recommend that you do that. Now, Fritz, how did you stumble across this information, if you can just share that with everybody?
Oh, interesting. Well, you know, I was like everybody. I knew that, you know, our minds can be manipulated by the mass media.
Right. But
it wasn't until I started working with some women who were trying to escape the Illuminati. In 1991, I had the good fortune of meeting 4 women that were trying to escape. They had been teamed together in the Illuminati, and then they were like, on the flip side of things, they were like a support team to get out of the Illuminati. And they appreciated me in their life because I had done all this thousands of hours of research, and I could help them understand about themselves. But I understood a lot about the Illuminati, but I didn't understand about their mind control. And when I started trying to help these people, I had to learn in the School of Hard Knocks. And actually, in a way, I'm glad that I didn't know how powerful the programming was, because I was far more optimistic in the beginning, thinking it was going to go a lot quicker. And it turned out, the more I got to know about it, the more incredibly powerful and the whole thing's just incredible.
Right.
There's more engineering and thinking that's gone into this whole thing than like the Apollo program. You know, it's just, you start getting into how the engineered these, they split the mind into lots of little dissociative pieces, and then they reassembled the mind into a system. And the engineering that goes into all of that's just incredible. All the backup programs, everything. And so I just started learning this stuff on the go, trying to help people. And finally, in 95, I realized, you know, nobody's really said anything. You know, there's been some people that have talked about MK Ultra or whatever, but nobody's come out and broke down really what's going on. So I came out with 2 big books. You know, you have that one, the Illuminati formula used to create an undetectable, total mind-controlled slave, but also there's a sequel to it that's even larger, 600-page sequel, Deeper Insights. And so just took all this information that I had learned and put it into 2 massive books. There was a 3rd book too, but it's out of print.
Awesome. And that's one thing to point out too. We're dealing with a huge program here. This isn't something that's little. This when we're talking about breaking down an individual to compartmentalize different personalities and pose that with different triggers. I mean, this is highly advanced science in a way. I mean, these guys have got this system figured out. And like Fritz is pointing out here, you need to do a lot of research, and even just his books, I'm sure there's even more information to look into this. I mean, to really make someone a completely undetectable mind control slave. It's quite the program, and Fritz, you do an awesome job at exposing it. So you're taking that, and it's hard to understand. A lot of people, and that's the thing, they see it and it's just so over their head that they turn away from it. But this is real. This is actually going on. It's a real program. We know the CIA and the MK Ultra came out, and this is what we discovered a long time ago. So I'm sure it's way more sophisticated. So when you were working with the people coming out of the Illuminati, what are certain things when you were deprogramming them that really struck you? I mean, that you noticed that were maybe more difficult in unprogramming them?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Things that were difficult in deprogramming?
I guess what I'm saying is, like, how do you deprogram? So you were, if I understood correctly, what you were doing is trying to undo a lot of the mind control that was done on that individual, right?
Well, it's a very, very slow process. It's very tedious. It's like peeling back the onion, layers of an onion.
Right. And I guess the reason I'm asking is just I'm wondering because I see, for example, like a Britney Spears who's obviously showing these signs of MK Ultra. Is there bringing someone like that back? Is there, after that level of mind control, and we're talking about trauma-based mind control, drugs and electroshock therapy and the different techniques that you talk about that they do to break the person down. Can you bring a person back?
Yes, you can, except the protocols or whatever you want to call it, the conditions to start really working with them are probably not going to pre-exist. What I'm getting at is the first thing that has to happen is the person needs to be in a safe place.
Right.
There's many different levels. One of the things that they do is in the programming, the deeper levels of alters, the alters are split parts of the mind. The deeper parts will be in deeper trances, and for the mind to relax and start wanting to work on these issues, it has to be in a safe place. And that precondition of safety is almost impossible to get because we live in a society, this matrix, where everywhere you go, there's some abusers. Like when I was with Cisco, helping her, they would follow us everywhere.
Yeah.
And they would even walk into the house, and they sent someone from the CIA to buy the house next to us and move in, and they'd have people, gumshoe type people in their vans monitoring the place 24/7, across. They would be parked across the street. Sometimes I'd walk over to talk to them and they'd drive away.
Yeah.
But just trying to get someplace that is safe is your prerequisite for really doing some serious work.
Right.
And that's really difficult to attain. So you take someone like Britney Spears, I'm not sure how you would get her away from everything to start work with. And that would be the first step. And then after that, you have to start breaking down all these dissociative walls, and that takes time.
Right.
It's like I live in Portland, Oregon, and so imagine that the mind of a person has been split into thousands of personalities. Now, and that's no exaggeration, the programmers really put a lot of work into all this. Now, imagine you're trying to get everybody in a city like Portland to get to know each other on a really intimate basis.
Right.
It's the same problem. You have two neighbors that really don't want to get to know each other.
That's right.
How do you get those two neighbors to get to know each other?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to start working, and they've built in some the programmers, being sly little devils, have built in some conflicts. So like in the front of the system, and when I say front, these are the altars that are typically going to hold the body during regular hours. They may have one altar that hates their father and one that loves their father.
Right.
And so you've got this conflict here between these two altars. Now try getting those two to work together. So one of the things that you're going to have to do is get altars to work together. You're going to have to create in the mind safe rooms where when they go to work on memories, that they can, the different parts of the mind, these different altars can go into this safe room in the mind, and they can put together the memory. They each are holding a piece of it, put it together like a film and watch it.
Right.
But not have an abreaction. So you have to teach them how to keep these trauma memories far enough away that they don't splinter their mind and abreact again, but that they can watch it. Because if they all watch it together, they break down dissociative walls, and now these parts are being pulled together.
Right.
What was all splintered starts coming together. The dissociative walls break down. So you have a lot of work in breaking down the dissociation and trying to get the parts to work together.
Right.
And then that's just the easy stuff.
Yeah.
You've got suicide programming attached to these altars. So if they touch their programming, they go into suicide. Some of the times I was working with Cisco, we'd have maybe 8 or 12 suicide programs running.
Wow.
And I couldn't turn my back on her. You know, if my eyes left her for a second, she might run and grab. You know, I've taken a handful of pills out of her. One time when I had just, turned my eyes just for a second, she had a razor blade and was slashing herself all over. And so you can't even, if you're really doing the deprogramming, you have to have someone there 24/7.
Yeah.
And see, the therapeutic community and the ministers that have, nothing set up really to deal with this.
No.
Definitely. A therapist is going to see you once a week, maybe for an hour or two.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them were only seeing their clients once every 2 weeks for an hour. That's really not going to cut it.
No.
What I was seeing is these expensive therapists that charge like $115, $200. Now it's up to $300. I heard one victim of the mind control was telling me they were paying $300 an hour for the therapy. And the therapist is going to say, hey, you're getting better.
Yeah.
And the person's going to feel, oh, man, well, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm getting something for my money. I'm getting better. But they're just playing with surface issues. They're not getting down to the nitty gritty.
The real issue. Absolutely. So you mentioned something I just wanted to maybe have you elaborate on. Now, you talked about the different personalities and how they're using trauma to split the personality. Could you explain that to the viewers a little bit about how they do that? So how they impose those different personalities?
Yeah, it works off of some natural abilities of the mind. Okay. And my favorite way to explain that is if you were a soldier and you had a really good buddy, you really liked this guy, and an artillery shell came in and it blew him up into little pieces, and you had his brain splattered all over you, maybe a few body parts also hit you. It would be a trauma.
Right.
It would be a severe trauma. And the thing is the mind has the ability to protect itself by creating amnesia walls around that event. Because if you thought about that trauma every day, you wouldn't be able to function and you'd go crazy.
Right.
So what the programmers are able to do is they create these horrific traumas that splinter the mind. It's really a controlled psychotic break is what it is. And you've got three different classes of people. One group of people, if they're traumatized that much, they just simply die. And another group, they just simply go crazy. But there's some really highly intelligent people that have a lot of dissociative ability that they inherited. That's why they've tended to keep this programming in families. You've got some people that have the ability to dissociate and say, that's not happening to me, it's happening to that person over there. The mind splits, it shatters.
Right.
And so the shattering process, though, is not like one or two pieces being created. It's if you were to take a mirror and throw it against a concrete sidewalk, it's going to splinter into thousands of pieces. So they splinter the mind into thousands of pieces. Some of the pieces they can't use, but they go back and find the usable pieces, take those usable pieces, dissociative pieces of the mind, and it's like a blank slate to some degree. And now they start using all their mind control techniques to form, that fashion, that little splinter of the mind. And that little part of the mind has no bigger picture.
Right.
You know, so later on in life, that little program piece, all it knows is it's programming. It doesn't have a view of real life. That's why real life will break down the programming for that altar.
Right.
So they'll take maybe a Disney movie where, you know, in the Disney movie they've got a doorknob with that looks human. You know, it's got eyes, smiles, and talks. And they'll show that to that little altar, that young altar, and start programming it to believe that it's a doorknob, you know, or whatever part or thing that they want it to be, you know. It's a cat or whatever. But they just keep working on that. And then they give it an identity, a history. They train it, they program it. They give it codes, triggers that will pull it up to the front of the mind. They do all of this for each one of those little pieces. And then what are they using those pieces for? Well, the cat altars, the beta altars are used sexually, you know, and the delta altars are used as assassination altars. And you know, so they have purposes behind them.
Right.
And then if you're putting in this much effort into creating a system of altars, you might as well give it the most capabilities possible. So these people, their system of altars are able to do quite a few different things. They're not just an assassin or a prostitute or whatnot. They're going to be a whole range of things.
Right. Right. And that's actually something that I've been talking about. We see with, like I said, the Hollywood artists who have these altars and these personalities, and especially the women, we see the sex kitten altar. I say it's demonically inspired by the Jezebel spirit, and they're using that in a satanic way to influence the young women. Because I think, in all honesty, you get the woman under mind control, and you even hear like Beyonce say that when this altar takes over, the altar does things that she wouldn't even do. You know, so they're able to be even more satanic and evil because they're programmed that way. So being that we were both strong believers in Jesus Christ, I wanted to talk about the spiritual component of this phenomenon. To me, it seems when I'm analyzing this that we're seeing this is like a very high form of advanced demon possession. That's how I'm seeing it. It's like a scientific way to take maybe what was done in ancient times with demonic possession to a whole new level to really create a demonically inspired, controlled slave. You mentioned in your book in certain areas about their spiritual components, about possessions and trances and things like that. Could you talk about that component in the MK Ultra program?
Right. one of the things that you'll see the CIA doing in their MK Ultra, that's just a subset, or the CIA is just being used as a front for the Illuminati. But at any rate, you will see even the CIA using Satanism.
That's it.
Michael Aquino, who's military intelligence and one of the programmers, he parades around in satanic costumes publicly.
Right. Exactly.
So, so there's this satanic component to all of this. Well, some people say, oh, well, that's just a big act on Michael Aquino's part. That's just a big act on the programmer's part. They're just pretending that Satanism is real. It's really no. This stuff is an active component. So don't be misled by that. Yeah. A lot of secular people don't believe in the supernatural or that there is such things as spirits or demons or whatnot. But it definitely it exists, and the programmers are using it. It's one of the catches that make it so difficult to work with because what I was seeing is you have the psychiatrists and the psychologists. They've been trained about this over here, and they will address these psychological issues. Right. And then you got your ministries, your Christian ministries that believe in the spirit, but don't know anything about the psychological thing. Right. And neither one has the full answer. That's it. They've got both communities just chipping away at a corner of the thing. Yeah. So,
could I just interject? I think
yes, go ahead.
I think that's really good to point out, and I really want to approach both angles because there is a psychological component. We are talking about a very sophisticated form of mind control, so there is that component, and the Bible does tell us that we wrestle against flesh and blood. So it's really it's like this scientific demonic program. You see that's what this mind control program is, and I definitely agree that you can't leave either or out. They go together with this whole puzzle.
Right. So from the psychological side of things, you've got this little piece of the mind that's been given an identity and programmed at that altar, and then they make sure that it gets demonized. Exactly. So they attach demons to it. Right. And the demons are used attached for several things. One is they create levels or belts of demons that are protectors. And then they also create demons that imitate the altars. They attach those. The demon possession in this thing is just absolutely incredible. Right. These people are just crawling with demons of all kinds. And with the common person, like you or I, that's not programmed, Satan doesn't seem to waste a lot of demons on us. But these people that are programmed, they get some big daddy demons. Right. They get some. The programmers are working to really bring in the full spectrum of demonic control. So one of the things that has to happen to get down to the deeper levels is there going to have to be deliverances. Yeah. Like, remember I talked about peeling back the layers of the onion. Right. So let's say you've got two of the outside layers peeled back. Well, now before you can go to the third level, you may have to do a deliverance. That's right. Where you get rid of those protecting demons. And, it's been interesting to watch over the years. I was just talking to somebody here, just 2-3 weeks ago, and they had not been able to make any further progress going deeper in their system. And then they had a deliverance, and then they were surprised that they could go. Well, that's exactly the way it's going to go. Right. You've got to deal with the demonic too, the spirits. Right. And one of the things that's very powerful for that, if any of the listeners have been subjected to mind control, and that's the blood of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And so when we're doing deliverance work, we will take the blood of Jesus Christ and we'll just spread it all over
Right.
the person's mind, all over the area, and the evil spirits just leave. They don't want to hang around that.
Amen.
But I also discovered from experience, because you don't know these things until you work with them, how things are going to work out. But, initially I thought, well, maybe if you use the blood of Jesus Christ in the mind of the person, it's just going to be a one-time deal,
Right.
a one-time deliverance, that's it. It doesn't work that way. It's like you peel back one level, you start working on it, and then after a while, you're able to go to the next.
Well,
And parts of the mind are shut down.
could I say something? I think
Sure.
right there, because you did point out that these people they would impose more personality. So it's kind of like in the Bible where there's legion, right? There was a legion of demons that are in these people. So when you would be breaking down the programming, you're dealing with someone who has a legion of demons that are ingrained in that person. So you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you might
That's
get one
right.
out, but 7 are going to come and try and replace them first of all, and there might be another 10 in there. There might be a lot of cleaning house to do, and it's good that you take that angle, that you recognize that there's a spiritual component, and the blood and authority of Jesus Christ can get them out there. But even at that, I can imagine that with some of these programmed individuals, it can be quite the task.
Well, what you mentioned there are actually spiritual programs. They have legion.
Right.
You're going to find legion in a lot of these people, and also it's standard for there to be a program that if you take one spirit out, that when it reprograms, it's to bring in 7 more.
Exactly.
So yeah, those things in the Bible turn out to be exactly the dynamics that you see when
Right.
you're working with it.
Right, and that's really why I wanted to bring you on the show here, is just to show that this is, again, just there's a spiritual component, the Illuminati. It's something I talked about. A lot of people don't understand that they have this, what they perceive as secret knowledge, this occult knowledge, and now they're using it in scientific ways and with modern technology, and they're administrating this type of mind control. So I think, Fritz Springmeier, that was an awesome show. I really appreciated having you on. I'm sure the viewers are absolutely going to love this. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about our conversations here today. And thanks a lot, Fritz. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Mario, for having me on.
No problem.
Have a great day.
God bless everybody. Take care.
Actually, in a way, I'm glad that I didn't know how powerful the programming was, because I was far more optimistic in the beginning, thinking it was going to go a lot quicker. And it turned out, the more I got to know about it, the more incredibly powerful, and the whole thing's just incredible.
Right.
There's more engineering and thinking that's gone into this whole thing than like the Apollo program. It's just, you start getting into how the engineered these, they split the mind into lots of little dissociative pieces, and then they reassembled the mind into a system. And the engineering that goes into all of that's just incredible. All the backup programs.
Hey everyone, you're here with Vigilant Christian Mario, and you're here for another edition of Illuminati Media Exposed. In today's video, I have a very special show. I'm very excited to be introducing you guys to researcher and fellow brother in Christ, Fritz Springmeier. So Fritz, if you want to say hello.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Mario.
Really, it's an honor to have Fritz. If you guys aren't familiar, the reason that I'm having Fritz on here is because I've talked about things on this channel like the Illuminati mind control. And when I began to research these things for myself, I came across his work. So what we're going to be talking in today's video about is Fritz Springmeier's book, how the Illuminati create an undetectable total mind control slave. So if you've stumbled across a lot of my videos that talk about what's going on in the entertainment industry, you've even heard Roseanne Barr say that MK Ultra is a massive problem in Hollywood. But what is MK Ultra? What is this program, and what's it all about? That's what we're going to be answering today. We're going to go in depth into the Illuminati and how they create this total undetectable mind control slave. So, Fritz, I read the book. It's fantastic. There's a link in the description section, guys, if you want to go ahead and get a copy. I absolutely recommend that you do that. Now, Fritz, how did you stumble across this information? If you can just share that with everybody.
Oh, interesting. Well, I was like everybody. I knew that, our minds can be manipulated by the mass media.
Right.
But it wasn't into everything. And so I just started learning this stuff on the go, trying to help people. And finally, in '95, I realized, nobody's really said anything. There's been some people that have talked about MK Ultra or whatever, but nobody's come out and broke down really what's going on. So I came out with 2 big books. You have that one, the Illuminati formula used to create an undetectable, total mind-controlled slave, but also there's a sequel to it that's even larger, 600-page sequel, Deeper Insights. And so just took all this information that I had learned and I started working with some women who were trying to escape the Illuminati. In 1991, I had the good fortune of meeting 4 women that were trying to escape. They had been teamed together in the Illuminati, and then they were like, on the flip side of things, they were like a support team to get out of the Illuminati. And they appreciated me in their life because I had done all this thousands of hours of research, and I could help them understand about themselves. But I understood a lot about the Illuminati, but I didn't understand about their mind control. And when I started trying to help these people, I had to learn in the School of Hard Knocks. And